Okay, today I'm going to share with you, go a little bit deeper into the Google Classroom. If you're watching this video, you know how to find it on your computer, you know how to set up your class, and you know the difference between an announcement and an assignment. If you don't know these things, you may want to go back and take a look at the Google Classroom intro video that can be found on the web page. But today what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit further into the Google Classroom. So I'm going to pull up my Google Classroom. It's on my apps. And I have already established my classroom, and I've already created my account. So it's going to pull up, and I've already created a few classrooms. So it's going to pull up my classrooms here that I've already created. Okay? Now, like I mentioned in the previous video, even though I was an elementary teacher and I was self-contained, I still had a different classroom for each subject area, content area that I taught. It just made it easier for me to manage the work that the students were turning back into me. Because remember, Google Classroom will automatically create a folder for that classroom. So any work that is pushed out or assigned in that classroom, when the students turn it in, it will go into that folder. So believe me, it does save lots of time as far as the management of which folder to put the work in if you're not pushing it out through Google Classroom. Another thing that I really liked about Google Classroom, before Google Classroom was available to all teachers, if I were to create something on Google Drive and I would share it with the students would need to go up in Drive and make a copy so they could have their own. With Google Classroom, you can push out an assignment to every student. So they would all have their own, and it would kind of save a couple of steps. So that's really nice. Alrighty, the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is, say that you create a class and you decide that you don't need that class anymore. Okay, so here is this session 1. You have to be back in the home screen. This is my home screen. So when you pull up, you can access your individual classrooms. This is where you would put your announcements and your assignments. Or if you want to go back to the home screen, this is the home screen. And what you would do is, you see these 3 little dots on the side, you would click on that. You have an option to rename the class, or you can archive it. Archive it means you're kind of putting it on hold, okay? So if I had a classroom and I only taught it in the fall semester, but I didn't teach it in the spring semester, I might archive it so that I don't lose everything when I come back to it. Or say that it's something that you feel isn't happening, or next year you teach a different, instead of earth science, you teach chemistry. Then by archiving the classroom, you still have access as the teacher to all of the resources you put into Google Classroom, just you can't add to it and the students can't add to it. So, but I want to delete this class. I don't need this session 1. I made a mistake. My principal decided I'm not going to teach this class. So the first step you would do is you would go over to the 3 circles. You would hit archive. And it's saying you and your students won't be able to make changes. You'll still be able to access the information you have, but you cannot add or take or delete. And you would say archive. Now, the class is archived. So notice it no longer appears on this screen. So if I come back to my little lines, and if I look down here at the bottom, I can see my archived classes, okay? And here was my archived class right here. If I decide that I don't want the class, I click on it again, click on the 3 little circles, and I can delete. By deleting it, it is gone forever. Okay, and it's going to give you prompts. Are you sure you want to do this? That means all of the resources that were part of this class is going to be gone. And you can choose to say yes, or you can choose to say, hold up, wait a minute. Now, say that I only teach a class for the fall semester, I don't teach it for the spring, and I've archived it so I don't accidentally put something in there, and I don't want my kiddos to have access to that class or those resources. Remember, I pulled up here and I'm in my archived class folder. Now it's the next semester. I'm ready to restore it. I can come back to restore. Are you sure you want to restore the class, making it active again? And if I go back to my home page, if you notice, my class is there. So that's how you delete, that's how you archive, and that's how you restore classes. So that's going to be very helpful. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of other things that you can do within your classroom. So say that I'm in my earth science classroom. We've already talked about how to change my background. We've already talked about that. Let's talk about how maybe you teach this class with another teacher. You team teach it, or maybe there's two sessions of it. If there are two different sections of this class, I would recommend having a separate classroom. It will help you organize the student work. However, say that you team teach, or say that you're a reading coach or a math coach or something like that, and you want to share this classroom instead of each of you having your own. If you go to the About tab, this is where you can write a description about the class, and this is where you can invite another teacher. So that teacher will have teacher privileges on this particular classroom. So they'll be able to add to, they'll be able to do all of the things that you can do as a teacher. So you would simply invite the teacher, and you would choose the teacher that you wanted to invite to the classroom, and now they have privileges also, okay? So what would happen is when they would pull up their Google Classroom, this class would automatically pop up in their account. So that's also helpful, especially if you're team teaching. Let's take a look at another very helpful tab. If you come here to the students, this is where you give student permissions, okay? Now remember, you can manually add students, but I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend just putting the key on the board, so when the students join a class, they would type in this key and they'll automatically pop up. Okay, but you have some opportunities as a teacher, what kind of permissions you want to give your students. Do you want your students to be able to post work and make comments, kind of like a blog? Do you want to give your students permissions to only comment but not post? Or do you want to say only the teacher can post and make comments? Okay, so that's going to be up to you. I know as a fourth grade teacher, my students had the opportunity to post and comment. However, we did need to set those expectations of what that was going to look like. So that might be something to keep in mind. Okay, something else that we are going to talk about also is our stream. Our stream is like our live page. Okay. If you take a look over here on the left, it's saying I have no upcoming assignments due, okay? Once you get into it and you start assigning and remember, if I decide, oh, I don't want this to be due August 6th, then I can come over, click on the little dots, I can edit, and I can change my due date. I can even give it a particular time also. So if you're teaching third hour and it starts at 10:07, then you can say at 10:07 this is due. So that's kind of nice. But something else you can do is if you come back over here to this tab, and if you hit assignments, it'll show you all of the assignments that you have assigned for your particular classroom. Now, here I'm saying all classes. So if I have 8 different classrooms, then this will show me all of the assignments that I have out for all 8 classrooms. However, if I just want to know what assignments I have assigned to a particular classroom, then I can choose the classroom on the little drop-down tab and it'll tell me. Okay, now remember, let's review. This is telling me how many are done. This is telling me how many are not done. Right now I have 0 because I don't have any students that have actually turned in the assignment. Okay, another tab that might be kind of useful is, I'm going to come back here. And let's say that I want to see who's actually turned it in and who hasn't. So if I click on Done, Now, once again, this isn't going to look right because you don't have students, I don't have students entered. It'll tell me the students that have already turned it in. And it'll tell me, it will allow me to grade. It will allow me to give it a maximum point. And I can also, once I've given a grade to the student, I can also email them their grade. So lots of cool things you can do with student work and with classroom management and workflow for you as a teacher and you kind of organizing the student work through Google Classroom. It has been a lifesaver, and I used it all the time. My fourth grade students knew that whatever their work was right there, and it allowed me to push those grades back out to them, and they would know to check in their email for their grade. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.